There's no doubt my late best friend Jason Reedy could eat. But when he found out about Telania's Pizza Challenge in St. Louis back in 2002, I'd never seen him so fired up. That's the crazy tale I'm telling today on Bill Roseberry Stories. The time Reedy got serious about professional eating and trained to take down a 10-pound, 30-inch pizza in 1 hour and overcome insurmountable odds. Did he do it? Well, we're about to find out. I'm Bill Roseberry. Welcome to my channel and enjoy this original fact or fiction feature from my storytelling series that offers plenty of Gen X nostalgia and serves it up on the regular. I shifted my legs and scooched my butt down the couch, getting my head positioned perfectly on the pillow. I was ready to watch the Osbournes. I never knew what old Ozzy was going to do next, and as the new hot show, I couldn't get enough of it. It killed time while I was figuring out what I was going to do with my life. After graduating college the summer before, I had been in a holding pattern. They don't tell you that the degree doesn't actually unlock the secrets to adulthood. Who could this be disturbing me? I thought, annoyed. I rolled and rocked off the couch, looking like a walrus flopping on land. As I grabbed the cordless receiver, I glanced at the name on the caller ID. It was Reedy. I yelled,
What?
"Dude, cut that stupid shit out or I'll hang up on you," a perturbed Reedy responded. "I got something I want to talk to you about." His voice turned from annoyed to excited in an instant. If I'd been in a holding pattern, Reedy had been a lost ship at sea, so I was curious to see what had him hyped. "Have you heard of Telania's Pizza in St. Louis?" he asked. "No, can't say that I have. Why?" "Man, I went there earlier today and it was the bomb. They got this pizza eating contest and I think I'm going to do it. You have an hour to eat this pizza, and if you do, you get it for free. Your picture goes on the wall and they pay you $500. I'm down. I think I can do this shit." His voice almost hit another octave in his excitement. I had questions. How big is this pizza? And what are the rules? "It's 30 inches and weighs like 10 pounds with toppings. You can't leave the table for the whole hour. No bathroom, no smoke breaks, nothing," Reedy responded. I could tell he had put serious thought into this. Man, 30 inches and 10 pounds? That's a big-ass pizza, Reedy. You think you can handle that? "Dude, if there is one thing I know how to do, it's eat." He burst into a big belly laugh. "Hell yeah, I can do it." "So when is the big day?" "I'm going to schedule it for 2 weeks from this Saturday. I figure that'll give me time to get ready." My God, he was talking about training. Like Ozzy trying to compile a sentence. It took my brain a second to compute. But this dude was serious. "Are you talking about going into training?" I asked with disbelief. "Hell yeah. I got to get my stomach expanded so I can eat more. I've got a plan," he said confidently. The contest became an obsession. We talked about it daily. He was looking for an edge, even discussing entering other contests. I wondered if Reedy had finally found his calling. I pictured him on the stage at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest in Coney Island, dunking buns in water and shoving Franks into his mouth at a frantic rate. Maybe one day he'd break Kobayashi's 50 dogs in 12 minutes record from the year before. He started gorging himself on massive meals. It started with cereal. One day he polished off an entire box of Fruity Pebbles in one sitting. The next day, it was Captain Crunch. He even got his mom on board. She prepared an entire casserole dish of lasagna, which Reedy inhaled in a single meal. There was no doubt the man could eat. When it came time to decide on the toppings, I stopped by his house to help him finalize the game plan. I'm thinking just one topping with all that cheese and sauce, he said, rubbing his goatee with a perplexed look. What do you think? I wondered if Einstein had put this much thought into the theory of relativity. I'd say that's a good idea, I added, joining in on the insane logic. I would stay away from meat toppings. They'd add too much weight and take longer to digest. Right on. So what topping? He had a notebook where he'd been jotting down notes on his strict regimen. He was like a football coach etching out a playbook for the Super Bowl. Suddenly, I had an epiphany. What about pineapple? I asked, my eyes widening. The acidity might help break down the cheese and dough during digestion. It'd be lighter on your stomach, too. I like that, dude, he exclaimed, grinning ear to ear. I'm going to set this shit up. A pineapple pizza. I'm going to win this shit, dude. He fist bumped me. He was ready, as confident as Custer entering Little Bighorn. The day of the contest was a sunny Saturday. Reedy was up before noon for once, which was a victory in itself. Our buddy Bart tagged along for support. Word had spread through our friend group about Reedy's big day. To most, it was a joke, but everyone was intrigued. The three of us piled into his white Dodge Ram and started the trek to St. Louis. It was a quiet trip. We mostly listened to music while Reedy got into the zone. He looked cautiously optimistic. When we pulled into the restaurant, the parking lot was packed. Bart and I strolled in behind Reedy. He approached the hostess. I'm Jason Reedy, and I'm here for the eating contest, he said plainly. She returned with a manager who was smiling widely at Reedy. Mr. Reedy, thanks for accepting our challenge. Follow me. The manager directed Bart and me to a booth in the corner. Mr. Reedy is going to be at a table by himself. You fellas can watch from over here. We scooted into our booth, giggling. There was a square table strategically staged in the middle of the dining room in plain view of everyone. This was the heavyweight bout. As Reedy took his seat, the manager made an announcement to the crowd. Can I have everyone's attention? This afternoon, you will be able to watch Telania's famous pizza eating challenge. Mr. Reedy here will have 1 hour to polish off a 30-inch pizza that weighs approximately 10 pounds. If he achieves the feat, he gets his name on our wall of fame, his meal for free, and receives a check for $500. Bart and I added to the noise with some "Go Reedy" chants. This is going to be great, Bart scoffed with a goofy laugh. The manager leaned in to talk to Reedy. Do you have to use the restroom? Once the clock starts, you won't be able to leave. Reedy just shook his head. He was starting to look nervous. Beads of sweat were gathering on his brow. A large black man in his late 30s suddenly approached Reedy from the kitchen. He was roughly his same size, sporting a hairnet and a flour-covered white smock splattered with red sauce. It was the chef, the mad scientist who had constructed Reedy's opponent. What's up, my big brother? He said, smiling. I just wanted to come out and wish you good luck, because you're gonna need it. He slapped Reedy on the back, unleashed a diabolical laugh, and strolled back to his lair. Reedy didn't smile back. He just stared stoically. Then the kitchen doors swung open dramatically. The behemoth appeared. It was the biggest damn pizza I'd ever seen. Oohs and ahs erupted from the onlookers. Reedy's eyes nearly bugged out of his head. Those beads of sweat were transforming into streams. His confidence had officially vanished on the first train out of town. They rolled the gargantuan pizza over on a cart and transferred it to his table. Are you ready? The manager asked. Reedy nodded slowly. Then start the clock. Reedy jumped straight into action. He'd had the pizza cut into 4 giant pieces. He grabbed one, folded it in half, and started shoving it into his mouth at a rapid pace. I watched with newfound hope. He might just do this, I thought. Bart and I sat in our booth, enjoying our own normal-sized pizza and glancing back at Reedy, who looked more like he was eating to save his life than for a trophy. He was doing well. 10 minutes in, he had more than half of the first quarter down. He tore through it with giant bites, his jaw moving like a cow chewing cud. At about 15 minutes, he started slowing down. At the 20-minute mark, he finally finished the first quarter. He sat back in his chair to catch his breath and stared at massive piles of dough, cheese, and pineapple, still haunting the pan. He raised a shaking hand and waved the manager over. Bart and I watched with trepidation as Reedy whispered something. The manager raised his hands to the crowd. Well, pizza wins again. Our challenger is throwing in the towel. Let's give him a round of applause for his effort. The patrons clapped loudly as a dejected Reedy gave a half-assed wave and disappeared into the restroom. Some workers walked over with a comically oversized to-go box and shoveled the remains inside. Reedy reemerged and walked to our table. What happened, man? I questioned. You started out so strong. Man, I could have eaten half of it without any problem. But there was no way I was eating that whole thing, he said. I'm not making myself sick trying. We paid the bill. Reedy grabbed his gigantic box, and we headed for the lot. As we reached the truck, Reedy got a perplexed look on his face. Hey, dude, you brought your camera, right? Yeah, why? Take a picture of this thing next to my truck tire, Reedy said. He opened the box and knelt. He posed the mammoth pizza next to his tire, and we burst out laughing. It was the exact same size. I snapped the picture, and Reedy rose to his feet, shaking his head. Man, I don't know what I was thinking, he said. I'm never doing that fucking shit again. Reedy's professional eating career ended that day, as quickly as it had started. Smashed by a pineapple pizza as big as a truck tire. That pizza was no joke. I wish I could find the picture of it next to Reedy's truck tire. That really put the sheer insanity of the size of this pie in perspective. It's also worth mentioning that not being able to finish the pizza cost Reedy $50. Another reason he was so bummed out. Trust me, that was a very expensive pizza in 2002. If you like this crazy tale, click like and subscribe and be back here on Bill Roseberry Stories next week for my next story of original content. Leave a comment too. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my videos. Also, join the waiting list to be one of the first to get my upcoming debut fiction suspense novel, A Matter of Life and Death. See what happens when 4 boys come across an abandoned house in the woods and find $8 million. Why is the house abandoned? Where did the money come from? Twists and turns lead you down a dark, winding country road to an unforgettable ending. And best of all, 2 of the main characters are based on Reedy and I, with the fiction anchored in our childhoods and lives. I'll see you next week with another Fact or Fiction feature right here at Bill Roseberry Stories.